morning, Bucknutters. It's Thursday, November 16th, 2017. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. The city of Dayton has settled into its cold, gray malaise until basically June. So we've got, you know who it is, Thursday, Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Steve, how goes it?
Daniel, it's bright here in Indianapolis, very sunny. And it's bright for Ohio State on the recruiting trail right now, too.
Very interesting names, and sometimes I feel like Steve makes his moves to provide content from the BM5, and I'm thankful of that. We're going to take these in somewhat Wiltfong chronological order. A few days ago, you flipped a crystal ball for Tyreke Johnson, not a name that has been prevalent in 2018 chatter, though could be and is now. Can you bring the people up to speed on Tyreke Johnson and why you made such a flip?
Yeah, the nation's number 4 safety for the 24/7 Sports Composite, top 50 recruit consensus across the industry. Ohio State was the team to beat very early on, obviously the same high school as Shaun Wade. But then there was a time during the process where both parties kind of went their separate ways, but they've reconnected. Georgia was the team to beat at the start of the fall. Georgia kind of filled up there. Clemson then emerged, but Ohio State looking for a defensive back, a corner, gets Tyreke to campus in late October. It's a fantastic visit. Buckeyes are clearly in the driver's seat right now. Tyreke's going to visit Clemson this weekend. When I put in the crystal ball forecast on 24/7 Sports in favor of Ohio State, I felt good about the Buckeyes leading. Now, a couple days later, I feel really good about the Buckeyes maintaining that lead through the Clemson visit. So I think as it stands right now, unless something drastic happens on this Clemson visit, Tyreke will ultimately choose Ohio State.
Tyreke is a college safety or a college corner?
Well, I think he can play anything in the secondary. He's a 4.5 laser time speed in the 40-yard dash. He's extremely physical, an extremely physical football player. I think he's his skill set is one of the best in the defensive backfield in this 2018 recruiting class. And Ohio State's recruiting him to play corner, and no program has developed that position better recently than Ohio State, so I'm not going to say he can't play corner. But I still think he's got a skill set to be one of the best safeties in the country.
If you look at him, he's a little bit older. I believe he's already 18, or he may even be 19. Played some varsity as an 8th grader. He looks like he's ready to contribute early, so always love a guy like that. The second prospect we're going to discuss, I'm going to let you bring up his name and pronounce it correctly. He's very, very good, and he goes to Gorman.
Yeah, Palaie Gaoteote. I had a chance to speak with him yesterday. Not much new from what Bill Kuerlich's been reporting on Bucknuts, but just for me to get a chance to talk to him, I do think that the interest in Ohio State is real. I'm not predicting that he will flip from his longtime commitment to USC, but I do think that he is genuinely interested in Ohio State, and I do know that no program is recruiting him harder than Ohio State. The Buckeyes have Urban Meyer in touch, Coach Davis in touch, Coach Schiano in touch. And this goes back to Luke Fickell laying the groundwork. That's how long this young man's been on the radar for Ohio State. He's going to return for an official. The kicker with Gaoteote is that he may not sign in February because with Gorman's schedule and then with the All-American games and then with all the dead periods mixed in, he may not be able to take 5 official visits, and he still wants to take all 5 trips.
Palaie has been about the most hyped kid in his class for several years. Sometimes when that happens, by the time they're at this point, the production doesn't match the hype. What's your vibe on Palaie?
Well, I've just seen him dominate big games. Maybe, for Gorman, you're not playing 4 quarters in a lot of their regular season games, but in their early season ball games against their national profile teams, I've seen him take over and be the best player on the field. I've had one college coach compare him to a young junior Seau. So the buzz is still there for this young man.
Very, very interesting. Good stuff. All right, number 3, another very interesting name that's kind of bubbled back to the surface. Truthfully, when you brought it up to me, I had erased it from my relevant memory banks, and that's Peyton Wilson. Linebacker out of North Carolina, has verbally committed to North Carolina. but there is an update.
Now, this is one of my favorite front seven players in the entire class. He's a state champion wrestler. He's just a fantastic athlete, a two-way player on the prep level, makes a ton of plays in the backfield. He's just a ferocious guy that's always going to play with great leverage. I wouldn't be surprised if he ultimately developed into a defensive end pass rusher on the next level. At the opening finals this summer in the linebacker group, he was the biggest guy. He was the tallest guy. He had the broadest shoulders in the group. He was the longest guy. And then if they were all fighting for food, he'd be the last guy standing. So I just think ultimately he's got a chance to grow into just a menacing pass rusher on the next level. And that's not even saying that I think he'd be a really good linebacker as well. But I think his ceiling is going to get the quarterback off the edge. Ohio State, he committed to North Carolina. I think distance to home was really relevant early on when he made his initial decision. He's not so hung up on distance anymore. Ohio State was one of his 4 finalists when he did choose the Tar Heels, and he chose the Tar Heels over a national offer list. This guy's a blue chipper through and through. He loved his visit to Ohio State. He told me yesterday that was his best visit that he has taken, was when he went to Ohio State. I just think proximity to home, and he has good relationships with the Tar Heels, and he could still end up sticking with the Tar Heels. I'm not ruling that out. But he had a great visit to Ohio State, loved the people, and I think that Ohio State, if he does return in December, it's not locked in, but if he does, they'll have a chance. He's going to Notre Dame this weekend. He's already been to NC State a couple times this fall. A lot of buzz that the Wolfpack are in a good position to flip him. So we'll see if the Buckeyes get their chance, and Clemson is the other school he mentioned as a December visit, and Clemson also made that Final Four initially.
Very, very interesting. He does look like a stud, though. I wonder if he's a long-lost Bosa relative. We'll get a DNA test once he commits. Let's talk quarterback. Obviously, you cannot talk recruiting for 2018 with the Buckeyes without finishing a chat on quarterback. Everyone knows the drill by now. Emory Jones, theoretically in the mix. The star from Georgia is verbally committed, but likes to go to college football games on the weekends at other major college destinations. That makes people nervous. Another guy who likes to do that is Jaron Williams, another quarterback out of Georgia, like every other good quarterback in this class. Kentucky commit, decommitted, visited Miami this past weekend. They put on quite a show. Miami takes the lead. Jaron Williams, however, expected to visit Ohio State this weekend. That's about the best I can do before I give the inside information microphone to yourself.
Yeah, he's now considered a huge Miami lean, and Ohio State will look to make up ground on the Hurricanes. But as we've seen, Ohio State has a lot of quarterbacks on the radar right now. So I'm not even 100% sure where Jaron fits in all this. He's the guy that Coach Day has been building a rapport with. He's talked to Urban Meyer, and we'll see if Ohio State can make a move on Miami.
Do you think Ohio – we'll finish with this, actually. Is Ohio State a viable playoff contender?
I don't know, because they need a lot of chaos, right? Because I don't think they would get in over a one-loss SEC team. So they need Oklahoma to go down again. They need Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, could they get in over a two-loss Oklahoma team that beat them on their own field? You know, so they need a lot of chaos to get in, which is just they're obviously, I still think from a talent standpoint, they're one of the top 4 teams in the country, but that's why you play the games, and a couple of them didn't go the way they drew them up, and, you know, they'll just have to go to a New Year's Six Bowl and then remember this next year.
Here's my only thing. People sit and get on Ohio State for the Iowa loss, right? And then they talk about Oklahoma's loss to Iowa State and say, well, Iowa State's a good team. Someone should go look at Iowa State's schedule. They lost at home to Iowa, okay? Iowa's better than Iowa State. So, anyway, that's my little 2 cents on the college football.
Iowa State and Iowa are Iowa State and Iowa are just in the same bucket. You know, that's how I view it. So, yeah, Iowa State lost to Iowa at home. It was a back-and-forth game, and they're just all in the same bucket. There's no shame in losing to those teams. It's just, you know, when you lose to them, you got a chance to not play for the national championship, and then that's where Ohio State sits right now, needing a lot of chaos to still get in, but they'll play out the string and see what happens. It's
happened before. We will also root for chaos. We appreciate Steve stopping by. Have a good one, Bucknutters.
Thanks, guys. See you.